Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4 and today we're going to present about our data analytic project using greenhouse emission gas GHG. Our group member consists of 5 members, which is Alia Zarina, me, Nadia Shafika, Alia Damia, Nik Amirul Arif and Fauzan Akil. So for this data set, it includes quarterly greenhouse gas emission by industry and continent such as Asia and Europe. We will be going to explore on the gas type, industrial sector, the total GHG emission, and analyze the gas emission in a specific region. Next, my group member will be explain about our 4 analyses that we have made and also some prediction of the dataset for the future years.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Fauzan. So today I'm going to present question 1, which is what gas type, industrial sector and region contribute the most to greenhouse gas emissions in the year of 2022. So here is the pie chart of gas type that has been emitted in 2022. So as you can see over here, carbon dioxide released the most greenhouse gases in 2022. And meanwhile, fluorinated gas released the least greenhouse gas in 2022. So as you can see over here, here is the analysis for greenhouse gas emissions in 2022 based on industry sectors. So as you can see over here, from this bar chart, we can clearly see that electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supplies are the industry that released the most greenhouse gases in 2022. And meanwhile, the construction industries released the least greenhouse gas emission in 2022. So as you can see over here, here is the bar chart of greenhouse gas emissions in 2022 based on regions. So from this bar chart, we can clearly see that G20 countries release the most greenhouse gas emission in 2022. So in conclusion, for question 1, I can say that high greenhouse gas emissions in G20 countries and the electricity, gas, steam and air conditioning industries are interconnected due to the large of industrial footprint, high demand and also reliability on fossil fuels. That's all from me.
Next, we move on to the second question. We will identify the continent between Asia and Europe with the highest total greenhouse gas (GHG) emissions and list all the total GHG emission by region in both continents. So to answer this question, we will be using the group by method. So in this scenario, we will be using the region as our key and the industry and also the type of gas produced as our data. So when using the group by method, we can also find the sum of the GHG emission for each region. We can say that we can say the total emission for the eastern, southeastern, southern, western, and also we can acknowledge the total emission based on the Asia and Europe, which is 131,000 and 27,000 for the Europe. To understand more about our finding, we will do the data visualization by using tree map that show the Asia is the area covered by the blue, while the red one is belong to the Europe. And we can see in the Asia, it is divided by two area, which is the left one is to show the total of the GHG emission, and the right one show that how the each region covered the area of the GHG emission there. And we can see that Eastern Asia has covered more than half of the total emission in the Asia, and followed by the Southern Asia, and the third place is Southeastern Asia and Western Asia, and the fourth and lastly is the Central Asia. And for the Europe, we can also see that the Eastern Europe covered about half of the total GHG emission in the Europe, and it also followed by the Southern Europe, Northern Europe, and the Western Europe. So to conclude the answer that we find in this question, The first is we acknowledge that Asia has produced more GHG emission, which is about 131,393 million metric ton of CO2 equivalent than Europe that has only about 27,361. Second, we all know also that almost half of both continents' GHG emission are contributed by their respective eastern region. And lastly, the total GHG emission in Europe is slightly lower for about 3,784 million metric ton of CO2 equivalent than the Southern Asia region.
Question number 3. During which year did Southern Asia experience the highest level of carbon dioxide emissions? And what industry categories were primarily responsible for these emissions? Analyze the changes in gas emission through each year with appropriate visualization. Based on the line graph, we can see that Southern Asia experienced its highest carbon dioxide emissions in 2022, reaching a peak of 7,543.95 metric tons. The preceding decade saw a consistent rise, starting at 5,194.59 metric tons in 2010 and reaching 7,318.98 metric tons in 2018, while there was a slight decline in 2019, which is 7,216.01 metric tons. Emissions surged in subsequent years, with 2022 marking a notable peak. The industry primarily responsible for the highest emission in 2022 was total industry and households. This concerning trend highlights the urgent need to address and mitigate sources of greenhouse gas emissions to curb their impact on the environment and address climate change.
Let's move on to the last question of the project. The research analysis question chosen for question number 4 is: specify a country and calculate the cumulative greenhouse gas emission it has produced from 2018 to 2022. Here is the diagram for visualization. I have chosen Europe as the country for this analysis. In the picture shown, it is a stacked bar chart. The x-axis represents year, while the y-axis represents emission in terms of cumulative. There is also 5 gases involved, which is carbon dioxide, fluorinated gases, greenhouse gas, methane, and nitrous oxide, which is being labeled in different color in the chart. So here is the explanation for the visualization result. The cumulative greenhouse gas emission for Europe from 2018 to 2022 amount to 139,690.76 units. Among the various gas types considered, the one contributing the most is greenhouse gas, with a maximum emission of 34,922.69 units observed in year 2020. This gas type dominates the overall emission, surpassing other types such as carbon dioxide throughout the specific period. The year 2020 stands out as having the highest emission, primarily driven by the substantial contribution of the greenhouse gas. Overall, this analysis provides a concise overview of Europe's greenhouse gas emissions, emphasizing the dominant gas type and the pivotal year in this 5-year period. That's all from me, thank you.
Next, I will explain about the prediction that we have made using machine learning, which is linear regression. From the linear regression line that we have coded, we can see that on the first subplot, it indicates the actual data and also the regression line created. As you can see, the blue line is the actual data, while the red line is the regression line. So from the historical data set that the machine learning learned, then they will produce the regression line, which is gradually decreased over time. Because of that, the graph for the next 5 years, which is for 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026 to 2027, will be gradually increased over time.
In conclusion, the analysis underscores the urgent need for global action in response to the critical and escalating impact greenhouse gas emissions. The focus on G20 regions and Southern Asia emphasized the significance of addressing emission at both household and industrial levels. The observed peaks in 2022 and 2020 raised concerns emphasizing the importance of immediate and comprehensive strategies to mitigate the environmental and climate effects. A collaborative effort across industries, regions, and gas types is imperative to achieve meaningful progress in combating climate change and ensuring a sustainable future for our planet.